thought I'd do a raw design process video for you where I do a poster design. I'm going to do a typography only poster design. I can't use any photography. I can't use any, I can use shapes and type, but that's it. So I thought I'd kind of go through my brainstorming process, how I think through this stuff, and just kind of capture the raw process I go through when I'm thinking through how to do something, a challenge like this. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to grab course type because this is the only thing we can use for this poster design. It's kind of a challenge. So I think I'm just going to do typography. So I'm just going to type out the word typography, if I could spell it correctly. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And I'm just going to start to think, okay, this is a poster. I kind of want it to be dramatic, so let's go ahead and make it a black background. And I'm not going to do a stark white. I'm going to kind of have it be really subtly dark gray. So just adding a little bit of white. And maybe just do some high contrast. I have these colors out here, but who knows if that's what I want to use. So let's get some font selections, kind of the tried and true Helvetica. Let's kind of stick with that, and we may end up changing it after a while. But there's several things we can do here to make this a dramatic poster. So we can angle it. And we can have typography, kind of break it up where you sound it out. So typography, that doesn't quite break up how I'd like. So that could be, and what I want to do is zoom out and kind of do some basic blocking. So I kind of make sure I have everything how I want it. I really want a bolder version, so I'm just going to do bold Helvetica. Another thing we can do is we can break out, let me just copy and paste so I can get that back at a right angle. There we go. Because you can also do it where it goes down like this. Typography. Of course, you have that kind of Y that's hanging out all by itself. Let's go do a Y. And let's do all caps. I think the lowercase, I'm losing it when it's separated. When there's a lot of space between all caps or lowercase, you kind of lose it. It seems disconnected. So that could be a thing. I can probably kern this or kind of adjust this so it's more center than how it is. See how that P is not really aligning great with the O? I can go back and mess with that. I could put these in boxes, put like a stroke around it. So what I did is I broke everything down into individual layers. So each character, it has its own layer, so I can go ahead and kind of move these around a little bit better, kind of have some more control. So I'm trying to think about how I'm going to do this. I think maybe the key might be having smaller type and doing something with lots of white space that might look really neat. Of course, playing around with font weights as well. So we could play around and have some contrast between these columns. I hate how it's odd. There just happens to be 7 characters instead of a nice even amount. So, you know, we could figure something out, but I want to make sure it's still readable and legible. So I almost wonder if I can do T, do something really interesting. Kind of have them stagger down. I almost wonder if I can try out like a geometric typeface. Let's see what I have here. Let's see if I have Futura. I do. This is geometric. There we go. It's got, see how it's geometric because it's got that perfect round O's. Google uses a similar geometric font. This has some nice properties to it. Just thought it'd be easier to work with. Just kind of placing these where I think It'd be kind of an interesting mix. Not really a rhyme or reason, just seeing what feels right. See, that looks like an R and a Y put together, but I don't really, yeah, that looks like a R. So let me move this over here. And then only, let's put some nice wide spacing. Let's also make that Futura. Let's put some wide spacing between it. Very, very dramatic. Let's do like 2000. I'd have that just be a little element down here. Let's make that even more dramatic. Let's make it 3000. I think the T could be stronger. That's the beginning of the word. So maybe if I brought everything, centered it. Played around with that idea of staggering the letters, and it just wasn't liking the way it felt, so I decided to switch my approach to make kind of a unified type where they were all connected somehow and still be readable. So I found kind of this neat way the G kind of connects and the O kind of connects. So I'm just going to keep working with that and see what happens. So I may have to go and noodle around with some of these connections. So you'll see here how the slant or the arm of this Y and the leg or the leg of the R and the arm of the Y, they're not quite consistent. So I might just need to kind of draw my own with the pen tool, kind of adjust that so it does look like it's consistent. And I hate how these aren't joined together. I wish I could spread this out a little bit and just make it work, but either that or I make it kind of conjoin here and have kind of this really interesting shapes and curves there. So I'm liking how this is blocking out. I can even take this empty space here and maybe put my only somewhere in there. And I had such a dramatic spacing here. I think I know what I could do. I'm going to separate these into separate layers or different objects. Not really layers, but objects. So I can manipulate those a little better. So now that I have kind of my basic blocking set up, I kind of have my concept ready. I wanted to kind of balance everything out a little bit more. So instead of having everything so close to the edges, it feels a little bit overwhelming, a little bit anxious. So I'm just going to kind of make everything a little bit smaller. So we can have lots of margin, lots of white space. It just adds kind of a really nice finishing touch to the graphic. This is when I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to change the my poster to make it a little bit longer. I think this is a little bit too wide. And I want to be able to have some kind of angle in here. So this has kind of got a nice, it's really fitting nicely into a square. So let's go and kind of fine tune this emblem, and then we can continue to kind of mess with the layout a little bit more in the blocking. Just putting more dramatic spacing between this only letters. Let it fill out this negative space a little bit more, or this empty space. Make sure that's, and I'm going to put that on the layer. I'm going to go to my layers. Layers panel, and I'm going to make my life a little easier. Go ahead and copy and paste this black layer. Send it to the back and lock it so that I don't have to worry about moving it all the time. Okay, great. Now my life is going to be a lot easier. I'm going to continue to work on the spacing here. I think it can be even more dramatic. trying to do a contemporary art piece. A little bit different approach when it comes to design. You can kind of break the rules a little more than you can with traditional advertising. Okay, so now let's get these lines a little better. So let's kind of zoom in quite a bit. Let's get everything to match up really nicely. And I may need to do this. I'm going to copy everything. Kind of save this whole thing so before I create outlines. Now I'm going to create outlines. Now I can go in and kind of have some fun with this. Okay, so now I can take the direct selection tool and nudge this around.